Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, it's Jesse with the Common Nerd, bringing you pop culture and all things underneath the way common sense lens. And I have been questioned in the past why I use that particular phrase, opening things up. It's something that I've changed not too long. Well, it's been quite a while now that I've been using it, but it's something that I changed from before the way I used to open my videos. And one of the reasons why I do that is one of the big things that we've been covering around here for a very long time is the Walt Disney Company. Obviously, they own Marvel, they own Star Wars, they own Pixar. So we literally talk about that corporation almost all of the time, and with all of the crazy things that they've got going on. And one of the things that started a lot of this kind of stuff out has been the erasure of traditional norms and traditional sayings and traditional phrasings from the Walt Disney Company and a lot of its productions, and especially at the parks and stuff like that, particularly in the case of anything that had to do with gender language. Obviously, they want to try to make everything gender neutral to go with all of their progressive nonsense and to represent and make their LGBTQ alphabet super mafia absolutely fraction of an audience feel represented, even though most of those people don't actually show up or buy into their stuff based on all of the ratings and all of the other kind of stuff that they've used to pander to those people that simply hasn't sold. Ollie's Toys, anyone, boys and girls? But needless to say, it's one of them situations where that's why I started using it, because I wanted to restore it. I wanted everybody to remember it. I wanted to remind everyone what Bob Iger and the destruction that he has done to the Walt Disney Company has taken from us. Well, boys and girls, is another prime example of them doing it all over again, even though they brought back an absolute fan favorite. Color us shocked there. Disney is once again not only trying to erase its history, but completely and totally change its traditions in order for a new gender-neutral language, as not to offend the freaks and the weirdos out there who are mentally deranged and make them think themselves feel pretty, even though they're just another dude in a dress. But at the end of the day, boys and girls, this is the same kind of garbage nonsense. And even though supposedly there have been purges from places like Marvel and Pixar and other things like that inside of the Disney's children's entertainment, and they've cut a lot of that kind of stuff out of there, obviously the parks are one of those places that the cult is, the spirit of the age is still firmly entrenched and still holds a very tight grip on all of that kind of stuff, because until we see a return to tradition, until we see a return to the gendered language that had been part of Walt Disney Company's history and the parks for literal generations, we will know the purge has never truly been done. And this is another prime example of it. And it's not just the changing of the gender language. No, boys and girls, they've removed two classic songs and replaced one of them from a new track from the Jonas Brothers. Really? So, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to check out this article from thatparkplace.com, getting all of the juicy details and let you know exactly what Disney has changed this time once again. But before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share with all your friends, and subscribe or follow if you have not already, boys and girls, because we are grinding, we are growing. We just crossed 1,900. We are sailing our way towards 2K once again, and I could not do that without every single one of you. Also, leave us a comment section down below. Does it surprise you at all that the Disney parks are still doing this kind of thing, once again erasing their own history, including the history of Song of the South, as well as changing all of the gender language for the more inclusive, insane cultists out there? Would you prefer them to change all of this kind of stuff back, or does it not really bug you all that much? Let us think about that in the comment section down below. And if you'd like to support the channel, please check out the links in the description down below, where you can become a member of this channel, get access to a bunch of cool emojis during our live streams, of course, get access to member streams where you get to hang out with me and a bunch of other nerds and talk about all kinds of nerd stuff, and also you get a bunch of other, you can be able to help support the channel and get your name at the end credits of every single one of these videos and every single one of our live streams. So please consider checking that out as well. All right, from thatparkplace.com and our dear sweet Marvin Montanaro. I don't know why he was ashamed of his first name, Marvin. Why was it always M. Montanaro before? Marvin's not a bad name at all. I love Marvin the Martian. Come on now. Disney changes out classic songs, scrubs gender language from Paint the Night Parade at Disneyland. And now, why are you saying, why do I care about this, common nerd? I'm not going to go to the parks. I'm not going to spend my money about this, because this is the kind of stuff that needs to be called out. Every single aspect needs to be called out about this at every single point, because the reason why they were able to get in so far and destroy so many things and corrupt so much stuff is because we didn't pay attention to the little things. And this is one of those little things. You give them an inch, they take a mile. You remember that saying? That's exactly what this kind of stuff is, which is why it needs to be called out, ridiculed, and mocked, because the one thing the devil hates the most is to be mocked, boys and girls. And trust me, Disney's been down with the devil for a very long time. A series of controversial changes to Paint the Night at Disneyland has stirred controversy among the Disney fan base once more. The return of Paint the Night at Disneyland should have been a triumph, a beloved nighttime parade revived to mark the park's 60th anniversary with dazzling lights, familiar characters, and a wave of nostalgia. But in typical modern Disney fashion, the company couldn't resist tinkering with the legacy of its own classics in pursuit of progress. You know, back in the 90s, we called it political correctness. Yeah, same kind of nonsense. They just call it like woke now. It's literally just the evolution of what we called PC back in the 90s. Some things never change. They just evolve. Like, that's all it really does. They just change their names once we figure out their BS. One of the most noticeable changes to the Paint the Night is the removal of its iconic opening line. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. See what I mean? That's why it's in the beginning of every one of my videos, because this is not the first time they've changed it, and it won't be the last to any of these events that they try to revive and bring back for nostalgia purpose. You remember? The member berries. You remember? You remember? In place, Disney now uses "to all who come to this happy place," a quote from Walt Disney's 1955 dedication speech. While the line holds nostalgic value, how many of you all knew of that line and not the ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? Its use here feels more like a corporate workaround than a heartfelt tribute. Yeah, I mean, seriously, concerning the disrespect that we've seen from Bob Iger and the rest of his ilk over there for Walt Disney himself, yeah, I don't think this is any kind of glowing tribute to the absolute legendary man himself. This is not the first time Disney has made this change. In 2022, the Main Street Electrical Parade returned with the same reworded introduction, sparking immediate debate. And this change extends beyond just the parade. Disney has scrubbed this language from all announcements and greetings throughout Disneyland and Walt Disney World. They have literally scrubbed it from every place they could. That's why we put it back. We're bringing it back. We're bringing it back, boys and girls. We're bringing it back. Often replacing it with dreamers of all ages. Dreamers of all ages. Why drop such a beloved, time-honored phrase? The answer lies on an ongoing internal shift at Disney to avoid language that risks offending certain gender identities. You know, the alphabet soup mafia, the Xer, them, yeah, those people. That company has quietly moved away from terms like ladies and gentlemen in an effort to appeal to a broader definition of inclusion. Internally, it's about welcoming everyone, a sentiment that Disney has often leaned to across its parks, streaming, and merchandising. How's that worked out for them? How'd it work out trying to turn Star Wars into a girl's brand? Yeah, not so much. But for many longtime guests, the change represents a loss of tradition and charm, because God forbid we have any traditions that we hold sacred and keep around. No, because if it's part of the past, it has to be destroyed now, doesn't it? Especially when the original phrase was never meant to exclude, but to warmly invite. But that doesn't matter, because these modern progressives, they know so much better than all you ignorant ists and phobes from back in the day, right? What was once a signature greeting that bridged generations has now become another victim of the modern push to reward anything that might be interpreted through a contemporary ideological lens. For legacy fans, it's a subtle but symbolic shift, another sign of the ongoing transformation happening within the House of Mouse. And like I said, it permeates every aspect of it. Don't believe me? Ironheart, anyone? But the revisions don't stop at the opening. And what many may prove even more controversial, Disney has cut two of its iconic songs, Zippity-Doo-Dah and When You Wish Upon a Star. Right? Like, we get with the Zippity-Doo-Dah thing shouldn't surprise anybody, right? It's from Song of the South. It was part of what is now Tiana's Bayou Adventure, but was, of course, Splash Mountain before, right? Which, of course, because, I don't know, having the first black man to ever be awarded, like, what was it, an Emmy or a Grammy or something in Hollywood, and that being the movie he appeared in and the movie he won the award for, I guess that's some kind of horrible thing you have to erase. I don't know. Why does the current modern iteration of the Walt Disney Company, why does Bob Iger hate iconic black people who win awards for the very first time of anybody of their color? I don't know, but that's what they do with Song of the South. When You Wish Upon a Star, though, I mean, like, literally, when you wish upon a star, that one was problematic? No, 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 no. No, no, no. In their place, celebrate Happy, a new original track performed by the Jonas Brothers. Yes, boys and the girls, Jonas Brothers has replaced When You Wish Upon a Star and Zippity-Doo-Dah. Yes, the Jonas Brothers. Am I the only one that has never gotten into like the pop versions of music, like the little new boy band garbage nonsense? And I get it, it's hot with teenage girls, but like really, is anybody over that's not a teenage girl? Like, so you're talking maybe what, 25, 35% of the population at most, probably less? Like, who the hell else is gonna care? And to replace When You Wish Upon a Star with the Jonas Brothers? Really? Really? Commissioned specifically for the 7th anniversary celebration. While the song might appeal to younger audiences or fans of modern pop, it's no substitute for the emotional resonance classics like helped define Disney's magic for decades. Removing Zippity-Doo-Dah is hardly surprising, even given Disney's ongoing crusade to erase all traces of Song of the South from its parks. The tune, once cheerful staple of parades in the now extinct Splash Mountain. Shout out to the ghosts that I'm pretty sure are the ones that keep on breaking the new Tiana's Bayou Adventure, and that's why nothing works. Keep up the good work, boys. Has been effectively blacklisted by the company's Stories Matter initiative, an internal DEI-inspired, D-I-E, because that's really what it does to everything, inspired division tasked with reviving and rewriting park content to align with modern sensibilities. The same team was behind the decision to put Gut Splash Mountain and replace it with the still troubled Tiana's Bayou Adventures. Remember those ghosts I was talking about? Which has faced technical setbacks and lukewarm reception from guests who miss the old ride's charm. As for When You Wish Upon a Star, the song is arguably the anthem of Disney as a brand, originally featured in Pinocchio and uses countless openings and promos. Its quiet removal from the finale has left many wondering if the most treasured part of the Disney's catalog are safe from being updated. Nope. Not gonna happen. None of it, in no way, shape, or form. Nothing is sacred to these freaks. They literally will tear down every single inch of the past to rewrite it in their own image. They will be like the Most High. They are better, smarter, and faster than anyone that has ever came before them. They are on the right side of history, and no one will get in their way until they correct the world around them, until it fits their PC, agenda-driven, woke, garbage view of the world, because that's exactly what it is. Fortunately enough, the majority of the world is rejecting all of this garbage and nonsense. Don't believe me? Look at Marvel's box office. Look at their ratings. So they go through the history of the Pain of the Night. Not too really worried about that whatsoever. If you want to check out the full article and get into the Pain of the History Night, check it out. But this is where things come down to, because like I said, this isn't the first time they've done this. This isn't the first reason why we're doing the ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. This isn't an isolated incident. It's a pattern. Longtime fans have watched as Disney slowly phased out language, characters, and songs that built its empire, all to appease a narrow ideological trend. How's that worked out for them? With every tweak, every sanitized line, and every erased melody, it becomes clear that nostalgia and legacy are no longer sacred within the halls of the Mouse. And why are nostalgia and legacy important? Because that's what gives you the generational passing down. That's what gives you why things are generational, right? Because the young generation and the old generation experience the exact same thing. They hear the same things, and that gives them the ability to connect. And that's one of the things. They want to separate that connection. They don't want the older and the younger generations sharing things, sharing traditions, sharing legacies, because that builds a bond. That's a bond between families. That's a bond between generations. That's a bond between fans. That bond is what the point of all of this is to destroy that bond. That's the goal. They want us divided. They want us fighting. They want us arguing whether we love the old version or the new version better. More often than not, the old version pretty much wins out with all of the fans. But that being said, even if you like the new version things. That's the whole point, is to get you to argue and get mad. Well, what do you mean? You don't like diversity and inclusion? Why do you hate it? Are you an hysterophobe? Is that why you don't like it? It's like, no, I just liked the way it's been for 60 years, for it's been for 70 years. What my grandfather experienced, what my father experienced, what I experienced, what I want my kids to experience, what I want my grandkids to experience. I want us all to have that exact same shared experience, which binds us and ties us together and brings us closer together as a family. That's what I want. That's the purpose of tradition and legacy, to connect us as a culture, as families, across generations, across lines, across races and creeds and religions and all of that kind of stuff. That's what brings us together as a culture. That's why this stuff is important, because that's what it does. It connects us. It binds us together. It unites us. And that's why they don't want it. Because they don't want us united. They don't want us looking at them and realizing that it's your fault, Bob Iger. It's your fault, Kevin Feige. It's your fault, Kathleen Kennedy, that things are in the state they're in right now. No. They'd rather us argue over race swaps and gender swaps and not having ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls part of the introduction to what has been traditional for the Walt Disney Company and its parks and throughout its entertainment industry for literally almost 100 years at this point. That's what they want to destroy, the connection, the bond. That's why they go after legacy. That's why they go after tradition. This is why it's important. This is why, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, matters. Because it's an embedded part of our culture that we all share and cherish. And that's exactly why they changed it. It's not for inclusivity. That's just a lie. That is gaslighting. If that was truly part of the corporate ideology and the spirit of the modern Bob Iger Walt Disney Company, then why did they put T'Challa's mask back on his face for the poster of China? Why did they shrink Finn on the Star Wars poster for China? Why did they edit out all the gay stuff for all the Middle Eastern markets? Because they don't actually mean it. And they never have. The point is the division. Once you understand that, everything else makes sense. Whether this newly altered paint tonight will resonate with guests or be remembered as yet another casualty of Disney's identity first era remains to be seen. Well, I think we can have a pretty good guess, a pretty good estimate as to what was going to happen with that. Because, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, we have been documenting the disastrous dumpster fire that is all things Walt Disney Corporation for the last few years, whether it be on the old channel or the new channel. We've watched what's happened as they've gone down this path, whether it be the movies or the television shows. They have decided to bet on identity politics and inclusivity for a group of screaming mob psychopaths out there on the internet that do not and have never not and will not ever represent a significant portion of the fan base of any of the IPs they currently own. If and when they ever realize that, they will actually be able to make a change and give us good quality stuff again. The problem is now they are locked in. They have screwed themselves over by tying themselves in and making a deal with the devil, which is exactly where all of this ideology comes from, right from the pips of hell itself. And once you make a contract, once you sign that deal with the devil, it's pretty hard to get out of. And Bob Iger and the rest of the Walt Disney Corporation as a whole is trapped by this exact same thing. They can never go back on this. They can never change face because the backlash will be immense. At some point, maybe the dollars really do actually end up mattering. But as of we've seen inside the box office right now, none of that is changing. And clearly inside of the parks, none of that is changing. Have things maybe changed over there at Marvel? Have things clearly changed over there at Pixar and Disney's animation? Absolutely. But the parks are still a major factor. And until this ideology is purged from every facet of not only the Walt Disney Company, Marvel, Star Wars, Pixar, and Disney animation, but also every single institution in our culture, we will never, ever be able to truly breathe a sigh of relief and say that we've won. And at the end of the day, we never truly will win. We have to be good watchers on the wall And yeah, maybe it's just an opening greeting. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, maybe it doesn't seem like that big a deal to you now. But look how far things have come when we just wanted to get along to get along. But on the other side had very nefarious reasons behind everything they were doing. And now we found ourselves in the place we are right now. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it is absolutely important. And Disney, we will continue to call you out for erasing tradition and the things that tie and bind generations together, because your only goal is to do the devil's work, and that work is division and chaos. And I, for one, good sirs, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, will not stand for it.